Hello friends, I just made a bunch of videos based on this book Apostolos, which is one of the reconstructions of Marcion's letters of Paul, which I believe was written by Marcion or his people, maybe the school of Marcion, right? What is the evidence that Marcion actually wrote it? I believe that Paul is a literary character created by Marcion. For example, if you see the story of Marcion, if you see the story of Paul going to Jerusalem, it's actually Marcion going to Rome. Paul supposedly meets Peter, James, and John. Those are just titles of people who existed 100 years later in Jerusalem. They have the same exact dispute. What do we do about Judaism? Do we circumcise or do we not circumcise? That's the question, right? Those kind of things. What do we do about the law? What do we do about the Hebrew Bible? All of those decisions were made in Rome around 150 AD, middle of the 2nd century. Those decisions were not made in the 1st century. So, what is done here, that Marcion and later Luke project those 2nd century events onto the 1st century and create the legends that those events actually happened in the 1st century. Why do they do that? To increase the importance and the authority of what they do. Really simple. So there was no Paul, there was no Jerusalem Council. Okay, this is all about the 2nd century events. Paul is a literary character as well as James and John and Peter. Okay, all of those things happened in the 2nd century, in the middle of the 2nd century in Rome. And they happened before, and they happened because the revolt of Bar-kochba was crushed in 135 AD. Jerusalem became forbidden basically, and there was a difficult choice to make. What do we do about this? Do we remain Jewish and suffer persecution, or do we transform? And Marcion wants the church to get transformed into something non-Jewish, to avoid persecution, basically, to make it convenient. So that is the whole story. It's not complicated. So the main point is there was no Paul. Okay, the whole New Testament is a 2nd century production. It's about the 2nd century events. There could be some bits of pieces that migrated from the 1st century, but most of it is about 2nd century. Okay, guys?